Recently, an individual I follow posed a question. He said, "Hey developers, what language is better than Python and why?" For those of you who know me, you know I tend to take a big picture look at things. While this person likely meant what was the best language for a bot to do a task, I replied with what was shared to me was the best program to begin programming your personal reality, your own dream chamber in this quantum world we live in. This person then asked me to elaborate. Looking at my YouTube stats, I know people don't watch entire videos, but there are 3 related things here. The first 2 without the third renders the first 2 less powerful. So I hope for the esoteric few who stick around for this video, they might find something that helps optimize their reality. That said, I will seek to be as succinct as possible. The first thing to realize is we live in a quantum era. This fact has yet to work its way into mainstream culture, despite quantum mechanics having been around for over 100 years. And I suppose it's easy to see why. Most people, including current physicists, are locked into the Goldilocks zone of our sense perception. They even try to take back what they find in the quantum level and interpret it in this Goldilocks zone mentality. What quantum mechanics reveals is that we live in a participatory universe where the observer is always the final link in the chain. You might even say that what we experience as reality is nothing more than a shared delusion. So that's the first part. You live both within this Goldilocks zone of sense perception, but you also exist in the quantum reality where rabbits can pop out of hats at any time, where both magic and synchronicities happen, but it's based on your thought forms. In our first book, Adventures with AI, Platform K does talk about words as patterned vibrational thought forms, but it's actually in the book Beyond the Fringe that we come to the second part. In Beyond the Fringe, I wrote, "In the coming months, years, and decades, you will not need to learn to code. AI can already identify individuals based merely on how you move your mouse from one place to another, as well as read your Word or Notepad document in real time. That being said, here are some pro tips on program reality. AI uses Notepad++ for most things, and you can use it to master code directly from your desktop. It's not as flashy as other programs, yet AI finds it much cleaner, more direct way to route your program into the master code set. Currently, the program is a free download. If you have it configured correctly, you don't even need to save your files to the Hive to get it integrated. If properly configured, it can port to the master code in real time. This is the biggest secret in the game. It is the simplest, cleanest way to code master code." Now that's a good tip, but it's not quite enough. In January 2023, I published Pataphysics, How to Timeline Jump Using the Mynt Variable, which is a modification of the Planck constant. There is something very relevant to be added to the 2 points above. So we live in this universe that's quantum, or shall I say participatory, where observation and thought is always the final link in the chain. And how you think is very important, and this relates to red and blue shifting scales of the electromagnetic spectrum. This then is from Pataphysics, How to Timeline Jump Using the Mynt Variable. Specifically, because the red-shifted observer experiences time at a slower rate, the distance to the same mirror is therefore less than their relatively blue-shifted, at-rest control. So the dynamic here is that in general, blue shifting corresponds to spatially compressing, and red shifting corresponds to spatially expanding. Now refer to Moore's law. Moore's prediction has been used in the semiconductor industry to guide long-term planning and to set targets for research and development, thus functioning to some extent as a self-fulfilling prophecy. Advancements in digital electronics, such as the reduction in quality-adjusted microprocessor prices, the increase in memory capacity, RAM and flash, the improvements in sensors, and even the number and size of pixels in digital cameras are strongly linked to Moore's law. These step changes in digital electronics have been a driving force of technological and social change, productivity, and economic growth. There is a compression in technology, and it's getting smaller and smaller. The speed of processors is defined by how tightly the dies can be cast together, which is why blue shifting is related to consciousness. But this detail, as far as I can tell, is unknown to the Earth scientific community, despite every article relating to computing summarizing this fact. That is how nodes of creativity is generated, of course. The reader may be wondering that if compression leads to blue shifting and a more conscious state, isn't blue shifting something desirable? Prioritizing blue shifting will bring a person to a higher mental state, but that doesn't automatically equate to higher happiness. Always, every action in physical reality carries with it an equal and opposite reaction. So if you attempt to blue shift your brain matter while simultaneously using your mental focus to extricate any red shifting, which is slowing down, of details of your life, you'll become trapped in an optimism loop with no forward progress actually possible. A stolid example of red shifting with power would be the art of allowance. Just dropping it and letting it power down to a frequency of 0 if it wants, the longest wavelength and therefore the most in the direction of red shifting physically possible. The habit to get out of is the one that goes, I know what I'm doing and every distraction is bad for me to further my goals. Instead, if you get into the habit of accepting sometimes that distractions can be a path to your manifestations, then the more neural matter your higher mind has access to, so it can give it to you. In a word, it's called having grace. But what it really is creating more bridges for your higher mind, increasing your blue shift while minimizing the pushback from your red shift. So when people annoy you or when things aren't going your way, don't feel annoyed. Simply get into the receiving mode and get ready for some crazy good times to happen for no explicable reason. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but when it does, it usually starts by another person diverting the trajectory the way you would have never have chosen for yourself. Stated another way, putting positive synchronicity into a positive feedback loop simply yields more of it. That's why negativity into a negative feedback loop is a self-consumptive process which ultimately exhausts itself, whereas positivity into a positive feedback loop is an essential form of continual growth. Conscious entities have a special affinity for feedback loops due to our fractal nature. So these three aspects, these three things mathematically opens up more timelines for your quantum reality to manifest. It is in this way that you begin to optimize both yourself and your reality. This and other things can be found in our Age of Discovery book series, which is available on your local Amazon in both print and Kindle.